Here's my script. Could you read it?
Okay, yeah, and move that
Let's
script over
edit
here.
this part
Yeah.
out, okay? Going 10-1.
Rain dance, sun dance, con.
Let's do this.
You guys ready?
Quiet
Thank you
on
so
set.
much for this award. Ready and action.
Welcome back to Mel Moment Mondays. I'm your host, Mel, and today I'm joined by a SoCal musician who helps produce music, audio engineer, score films, and even has helped me score one of my own films, George Esteban. Thank you so much for joining me today on the podcast.
What an intro. Thank you for having me.
No, it's great to reconnect. It's been like a couple years since like we talked about my senior thesis in film school, and you helped do one of like the most pivotal montage sequences in my film, which was super fun to hear what you came up with for that.
That
So
was super fun too. Yeah, no, it's been a while since we've, face to face. And I feel like both of us have been on this upward trajectory, and yeah, I'm super excited to chat with you again.
yeah, oh my gosh. So like jumping right into it, like what got you into like music production and audio engineering?
The girls really. Um, I don't. Well, I was a musician. I am a musician for I've been playing in and out of bands all since I can remember. And as a songwriter, it's pretty frustrating to wait around for somebody to record you, And so I just kind of decided to learn how to do it myself. And even though the early recordings were crude and terrible, it was still it still felt like I had this ball rolling, and I just didn't stop from there.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So like and like can you kind of explain like what's the difference what can you like I guess define the terms like what is audio engineering versus music production versus music producing? What do those all kind of mean? Because to an outsider you're like, yeah, cool music, like sound, but you don't really understand like what it means. You know what I mean?
You want the short answer or the long answer?
Let's go with the long answer. Might as well.
Yeah, so I feel like whenever I tell someone, a civilian, that I'm an audio engineer, they're like, "Oh, so you make beats in the studio?" And I'm like, "No." They're like, "Oh, so you're a producer?" I'm like, "That's well, kind of not. I am, but like I don't make beats." And um, really, I guess I'll start with what a producer is, in the music world. Uh, Historically, a producer was the sort of liaison between the record company and the artist, and they would interface with the artist to communicate certain ideas, and use technical jargon to the engineer, but also communicate with the record label to make whatever project, whatever song, music, uh, commercial ready for the masses. Historically, that's what a producer was. Now it's changed. It hasn't in some sense, but yeah, a producer is a pretty broad umbrella term when working with artists and studios and whatnot. An engineer is kind of more technical. They're like the scientist in the laboratory. Um, they're being really technical with the nitty gritty and all the outboard hardware, and they know how to work the spaceship that is the recording console. And and yeah, that's kind of what the engineer does. But if you're discussing with somebody what you do in audio, and you're like, "Oh, I'm an audio engineer," a lot of people assume it's just music, but the world of audio, as you know, is gigantic. There's film and TV audio. That audio is like everywhere in the world. There's video games, audiobooks, and so audio engineers, work on different projects like that. uh Now in music production, uh also another umbrella term, but kind of it's the cheese in between the grilled cheese. You know what I'm talking about? It's um that's the creation of it all.
I like your analogy there and your metaphor of grilled cheese and cheese.
Maybe I'm just I haven't had breakfast yet. It's time difference here. I'm barely getting caffeinated right now.
I'm glad you got your mug of coffee though.
Yeah.
So what so yeah, you kind of touched upon like other things in audio that isn't just music. Do you do that too? I know you obviously work a lot with music, but do you help other people that might come into a studio and they're like, I want to record this for an audiobook, or I just want to record this to have this like what's kind of your job? Do you work at a studio, or what it kind of explain it?
Yeah, I'm kind of in a pretty unique situation where I have relationships with multiple studios in town here in San Diego. But no, I yeah, mostly I am a freelance music producer, an engineer for music. But I've had worked on projects for I don't know audiobooks and ADR for you know film and TV. Yeah. Sorry, what was the question?
Like yeah, you kind of answered it. Like have you like what's been your experience working as an audio engineer or as a music producer doing different gigs, you know?
Yeah. Being versatile. Uh, being open to taking work. That's another thing. It's if it's not music, I'm happy to record your audiobook or podcast even,
Yeah, what kind of like when you're in the studio like making music, kind of bringing it back to music. Like kind of explain like what is the board and what is your process mixing music, mixing the sound, like creating a beat? Like how do you come up with that and like what's your process for that?
Yeah, so I would say there's two schools of thought, and there's like a more modern new school way of making music and an old school way of making music. And I'm definitely a more traditional old school type of guy where like all my heroes were producers in like the 60s, 70s, and 80s, 90s. Um, specifically for like rock bands, like really famous rock bands. And so my whole thing is like this the song is king, and a good song or a good recording is a product of or okay a hit song is a product. I'm not saying that I have a hit song, but a good song is a product of a good recording, which is a product of a good source, which is like a really nice instrument, which is a product of a good song, you know. um so yeah, I guess it all starts before you even get in the studio. The pre-production, planning out a song, arranging it. If something's too long here, then we cut off some of the meat, and then we bring it into the studio. And then from there, uh basically my process is uh recording what's known as a scratch track, which is uh your song played on an acoustic or piano, and it's not really going to make it on the final version of the song, but it's there to have have a reference for tempo and timbre and song structure. And then we just kind of layer every instrument on top of that, assuming that it's on time to a click, and a drummer can drum to that. And yeah, it's just like building a house. I build houses.
Which is so interesting, and I think it's really cool that you like I mean specific. especially for the kind of music that you like to produce, which I would assume I think is more like rock, maybe alt, something like that. Having the live instruments there to record in the studio, and also having, having that space as well is also really cool. What's your thought on like DAWs and, like making music through the computer or through, like Logic or something like that, compared to, live music? Do you do it? Um, or do you find that there's any difference in it in the way that you would work or any of that?
100%. That's a great question. And there's two different workflows. Um, Again, historically, recordings were usually a band all in one room playing all together, and you sort of captured uh, a moment. And if the take was right, then that was the take. Now with the luxury of computer editing, you can you can have really clean recordings, and just the workflow is just different. You can take as many takes as you want, because back then they were recording on tape, and tape is really fragile, and musicians had to be on their stuff uh day of, and they couldn't do multiple takes or else the tape would deteriorate, and so that was a huge difference. But as far as DAWs go, they're great.
Which one do you use? I know there's like a couple out there that musicians use to create music.
I use Pro Tools.
Pro Tools.
Pro Tools, yeah, and I used to hate it.
Why? Why? Do you think there's a learning curve with it? If someone wanted to pick it up?
For sure, yeah. No, I came from recording on GarageBand on an iPhone. That was how I started out, which is like the easiest sort of like beginner friendly thing. It's to understand audio, but Pro Tools, it's like a spaceship, man. Like you can do anything on it. Like there's no limitations to Pro Tools, especially now. Um, I know there's a lot of conversation over whether or not Pro Tools is kind of outdated. I don't think so. It Because it's kind of taught that it's the industry standard. But there's a lot of other DAWs that are kind of knocking on that door, like Logic or
Right.
or Ableton.
Right, 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 right. And so once you record, record all the music live, what's kind of your process when you like get into the editing of the music and the song and the layering? Is there any process that you like to do, or have you planned it out with like I know you're in a band with your bandmates or with your client? Like, what's kind of the workflow with that?
Yeah, so there's definitely like an editing stage after all the music files are collected. Um, if you gotta, how do I put this? If you gotta trim some fat, if you, I don't know. There's definitely an editing stage, and you kind of set yourself up to a point where you're ready to finally mix, and that's kind of where the creativity comes in. Because mixing isn't just balancing different levels and different instruments, but um, it's capturing an emotion. So you're mixing for the emotional drive of the song and what's best for the song. And that's what I really like doing. Uh, it's that's the creative part that I really like.
Yeah, yeah. And I know you're in a band. Do you also just make music by yourself, just for fun? Um, yeah. Do you do that? And like why?
Yeah, that's kind of the reason why I got into music in the first place, is because I'm a songwriter, and I don't know, I appreciate a good song. Uh, I definitely want to focus more on uh writing and recording more of my original music. Um, but yeah, I'm in a band. We haven't released stuff in like a year and a half, and we got a song coming out on
Ooh.
Wednesday.
Oh
Uh,
my gosh. So soon.
yeah, and it's super exciting. Um, uh, because we've been together for about 4 years as like a unit, and you know this new song kind of sounds like that whole 4 years wrapped in one little present, and I'm really excited for that to come out. It's called Rockstar. um Kind of Oasis inspired. um yeah, yeah, just rock and roll song. um no, there's I don't know, I'm inspired by so many different artists and songwriters. But I don't know. I'm inspired by like the greats like Paul McCartney, Noel Gallagher, I think, Tom DeLonge from Blink 182. I think those guys are super clever. Their songs are super catchy. But also really, I really enjoy like pop music
Oh.
right now. Like Chapel Roan, Billie Eilish. You know, like new Selena Gomez.
Oh
Have you?
yeah, yeah. I've only listened to like one of the new songs that she just came out with, but
So good. Um, yeah,
what do you think makes those artists like their music good to you? You know, break it
uh,
down.
you know, a good song is a good song. You know, if you can hook me within the first 10 seconds and don't bore us, get to the chorus. Um, that's a rule I like. Then you have it. You know, and I think songs like Birds of a Feather or Pink Pony Club, they get straight to the point and straight to the that anthemic. Everybody can sing along. You know. Uh,
Yeah.
it's the same thing as Motown. You know, right now you see a lot of conversation about how songs are getting shorter, and it's because of our attention spans. But not really. I mean, pop songs have been like 2 minutes long. You know, in like the '60s and '70s with like Motown, that was like the hit factory, and they got the idea. It's like, don't bore us, get to the fucking chorus. You know.
I like that. I like that. Yeah, it's I feel like saying that you like pop can be like a really weirdly in like decisive thing.
Especially
Um
if you're a rock guy. You
yeah.
know, punk rock music. That's like a cardinal sin.
Yeah.
I think you know, I started getting into it while I was, you know, honing myself as a producer, because now it's like, okay, well, what's popping on the charts and why is it popular? There's a famous quote, I think it's by Frank Zappa, where I'm gonna be butchering this, but it's like, if something's popular and I don't like it, it's up to me to understand why. You know, it's not
Oh,
like the world's wrong. It's up to me to understand why this is popular.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so interesting. Yeah. Like working with, you know, clients or your band or whatever, do you find, you know, like I guess studying or like introspective thinking about like popular songs today, no matter what genre it is, helps you like write good lyrics or helps you, you know, write better music? um because you know I feel like you can look at the greats, and of course those are great, but you know like music as anything changes like day by day, you know, and like there's new things you know that people haven't done. So yeah, just kind of like analyzing today's music and comparing it to previous music help you be a better musician?
100%. I think a lot more musicians should do this, is really analyze the songs that were popular back then, cuz like, I'm going to say something pretty controversial, but Nirvana was a pop band. You know, their were super hooky. They didn't bore us. They got to the chorus, you know. If you I'm not a huge Nirvana fan, but I understand, like, uh if you heard a Nirvana song on the radio, you're like, oh, that's Nirvana for sure, because it's catchy. Like, Kurt Cobain is such a brilliant writer. um he wrote so many memorable riffs and melodies that are super popular today. Uh, Smashing Pumpkins too, like grunge rock band, but the song, the choruses were poppy, like, and when I say poppy, it's like they're catchy. Bullet with bullet with butterfly wings. That song, like the chorus, and it's like it's memorable. These songs are cleverly written, you know.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. So like when you're like composing, let's kind of mix it up a little bit. I feel like there is a difference between, um like writing music for yourself or your band versus writing it for someone else. What has been your experience, trying to aid or help someone write or create something for, maybe scoring a film or, doing something else where it isn't necessarily um like all of, you can't put 100% of, your own like creativity into it, I guess, because you have to appease someone. What's been your experience with that?
Well, it's so different. I will tell you. Um, I don't know. I saw this interview with Hans Zimmer, the god, the king of you know uh film composition, and I think he put it really eloquently, and it was like there is this relationship between filmmaker and composer. However, he was like, but the director needs to just trust me. Like, the director just needs to let me do my thing. Uh, but there are meetings, and you do have this open communication between what you're trying to achieve, and really both of you are trying to achieve the same goal, and that's just to move people. So creatively, I don't think it's that limiting. It's a different workflow.
Right, right.
It's not like it's structured songwriting like verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, outro. But it's just a different workflow.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have a preference in what like genre stuff you score? I know I feel like a lot of composers or people who write music get sucked into scoring for films because it's so popular now. Um but yeah, they always I feel like there's like certain niches, that they tend to like, oh, I only do horror or I only do strings or, if I'm more of a like a have more pop music, like I only do like coming of age. Do you find yourself kind of like going into one of those genres or do you try and like try something out?
No, I definitely limit myself. That confident, like just putting my dipping my toes in a bunch of different pools. I stick to my lane. I know what I'm good at. Um, uh, Definitely. Okay. This is a little telling, but I'll shy away from I don't know, like synth based uh compositions. Mainly because I feel like I'm not just not a synth guy, but I appreciate it. I appreciate like the Blade Runner like soundtrack. Like those sounds are so unworldly. It's
Yeah.
so. Who do you know who composed that?
Not off the top of my head, but I know the music you're talking about. It's great.
Um, no, I'll I'm an old school guy. I'm like, give me an acoustic guitar, and I can work with that. But arranging strings that's a super fun task to do as well. I'm a fan of classical music, um and and strings can really move an emotion. Um, so I'm a fan of that. Um, but no, I think when I worked on a pretty awesome indie film called Iceberg. Uh, I don't know if you've heard of it, but
No, no promotions in here.
uh, I don't know. I felt like I was in my element. I'm a songwriter, and I really had a lot of fun with that track.
Yeah, yeah. No, that was a really fun and interesting time for me as well, because I had a previous composer do most of the film, and I was just trying to find this one type of sound for this specific scene. And I feel like as the filmmaker trying to find the sound, it is such a hunt sometimes to try and find like the right person to do the type of music you want. Um, and it was just like super. I forget how we connected, but it was like I was like, oh yeah, I like heard some of your stuff. I was like, yeah, no, this is great. And then you said you were from California, and I was like, this is gonna be so good because because that's like kind of the vibe I was going for, like that beachy like SoCal, kind of that indie rock kind of like vibe, and you definitely nailed it.
I mean, you're welcome. um, no, I listened to like the example tracks that you sent. I was like, oh, I got this in the bag because that's the type of music that I listen to. Um, yeah, don't bore us. Get to the chorus.
And like tell me a little bit about like kind of like playing kind of less in the studio but just playing live. You're in a band. Like how does that work? What do you love about that? I feel like there's something so raw about playing live and like, just kind of not everything has to be perfect. There's gonna be mistakes, like how do you kind of take your that playing live into the studio or the mindset or, kind of walk us through that.
Yeah. Well, I'll be honest. I haven't played live in like a year and a half. Like hope like we're rolling out a new album with my band, the Wine Club, soon. So hopefully with that comes a string of shows. But yeah, I would love to get back into it. What I do remember though is just being viscerally in the moment. You know, it's like skateboarding. There's like a hint of you could fall at any moment, but it's so liberating and freeing and being being in front of like a wall of sound, that you're creating. You're subjecting an audience to this guitar, that's in your hands and that you have control over. And um yeah, I don't know. I wish yeah, you hear this a lot, but I really do wish that we didn't live in a time where we had like phones and cameras, and we were just living in the moment. um Tom DeLonge says this about filmmaking and versus playing live music is like, as an artist, and you write a song and you go out to perform it. There's so many distractions, from phones or people having side conversations, having a drink, whatever, at the bar. um but like, we're so envious of filmmakers because you get in the room and everybody shuts the fuck up and you're watching this experience all together, and there's so much more attention on the art itself. um so that's one thing that we're envious about. But man, live music, it's something else. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel like, I mean, touching upon kind of with technology, I do find myself, when I go to concerts, like, I don't know what it is, just pulling out my phone, being like, oh, I gotta capture just, maybe the first verse to like remember it or whatever. For like, and I'm like, I don't know why I'm doing it. It's just kind of like now kind of like ingrained. Like, do you find that it's like, as a musician and as an artist, it's almost like stop fucking doing that. Like it's like almost like, insulting the artist for doing that a little bit. I don't know because, you go to some concerts with like a more traditional older crowd, and people are actually paying attention to the concert, and it's like kind of nice. Like what's been your experience with that, and do you think it's like, yeah, just what's your opinion on that? You kind of already touched upon it, but I mean, I find myself guilty doing that. So it's like hard.
I mean, me personally, Mel, I need my Instagram followers to know that I have a life and that I'm I'm living it to the fullest. um, it's whatever, man. I don't, it is what it is. It's I don't think it's that insulting at all. I think older generations, if they dude, they're on their phones. They're filming. I went to the theater one time, and they're super strict about phones, and all the old heads were like busting out phones, recording them. You recording like Hamilton, So I don't know. Phones are just a part of life right now. Um, I don't know. Uh, Jack White from the White Stripes. I don't know if you listen to his music, but whenever he goes on, he did like a string of shows where it was like a requirement they would like scan your phone and it would like completely shut it off for like 2 hours, which
Wow.
is terrifying. Like if you're, I'm for sure addicted to my phone, but like, man, what if my house burned down? I need to, like that anxiety would be killing me, for 2 hours.
Yeah.
I'd be like, I love Seven Nation Army, but also, what if my stove was on?
Yeah, there's definitely a balance, I feel like. Yeah.
Or what? Oh my gosh, what about like on your end? Because I hate it when like phones go off in the movie theater.
Oh
That's
gosh.
a pet peeve.
Yeah, no. Okay. Well, for movies, yeah, no, that's awful.
What I hate is when people check their phones and it's full, the brightness is full blast.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't know why. Yeah. I'm like, if you're gonna check your phone, at least like bend down and put the brightness all the way to the bottom.
Like I
Like,
go underneath my shirt. And
yeah. Yeah. In your hoodie, just like pull the strings and like just like
it's,
yeah.
it's a dark room, and then all of a sudden, just the light, just blinding.
Yeah, no, literally, literally. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess phones are kind of ingrained. I mean, they are ingrained. They are ingrained in society now. But I feel like there is kind of a beauty of just like letting it go though, and just letting, just enjoying the music, which is, what you're there for ultimately.
Yeah, yeah. But I was also thinking, like, in the age of just capturing everything on camera, I'm so happy that phones recorded the moment where um the three Spider-Mans came out on screen, like you see videos of the entire theater just roaring, or like right now with the Minecraft movie, with I don't even know the character's name, but it's the same sort of moment, it's that Avengers Endgame moment, bunch of just kids just roaring in the theater.
Yeah. It does connect people, which is something that I think is the beauty of technology is being able to connect people, which is really cool.
So I got a question for you.
Yeah.
If you could make any movie, regardless of budget, marketing, whatever, what kind of movie would you make?
Oh, putting the questions back on me. Oh gosh, that's a good question though. I feel like that kind of ties into like what do I want to make, I guess.
Because for
Or
me,
like
it's when I sorry to cut you off, like when I make music, it's like, oh, I want to make music that I would want to listen to, you know.
right.
So what
Yeah.
would you watch?
Oh gosh. I mean, I feel like I feel like my answer to that would always be like I would love to I'm like super into TV shows. Just like I feel like I love movies, but like a good like kind of a good TV show with maybe just a couple seasons can really hit home for
Yeah.
me. And like most of them I feel like still in that age where like some sort of coming of age um or like just drama is what's gonna pull me in. So I feel like I would love to be like a showrunner
Okay.
or write, which is kind of different from what people assume I would want to do. I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, you're good with camera, you'd want to DP like like some action film or some like big drama or whatever, which I would. That would be so cool. But I feel like stuff that interests me and like something that I would love to do is like write for a 1 to 3 season like show
Yeah.
about a character going through shit.
Favorite type of
Whether
shows.
that's sci-fi or like, a period piece or whatever, just like it's gotta be like characters going through shit and it's interesting.
Are there any like shows that sort of come to mind when you think about that?
Oh gosh. I mean, the first thing that pops into mind is Minnie Kaling's Never Have I Ever on Netflix, which I think had about like 5 seasons. It's a comedy and I don't write comedy. I'm not funny enough for that, but that kind of like just kind of like that sort of coming of age where it's funny, it's quirky, there's drama, there's like stuff that like I could relate to, stuff that other people could relate to. I just find it fun. But in terms of like film, like a movie, like a feature, gosh, World War II. I would love to do like a
Oh,
World War II one, like a time period World War II piece. That would be, yeah, fly me out to England
yeah. Yeah.
and get me to film something there.
Oh, doesn't matter how many World War II movies come out. I'm there for it. I love World
Me
War II movies.
too. I don't know what it is about it.
I
It's
think
just, yeah,
time. It was like
yeah,
it wasn't even 100 years ago. It was.
yeah,
I was just talking to my girlfriend about this. Um, there's no like cell phones. There's no phones. They barely had radios.
yeah,
And so like if you had a family member 100 miles away, you're just like, oh gosh, I hope they're okay. I'd be stressing out. And you don't really know what's happening in the world too, because it takes time for news to get to places
right.
that, yeah, that's just scary. At
Yeah,
top of so many other things in World War II.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like if it's a good World War II action sequence, it's gonna pull me in. On top of, I just love the costumes. Like the costume designs in like any World War II film. Like it's a period piece, so it's like, it all has to be made, versus just tailored onto someone. I just find it's just fun. I don't know, like fun in a like it's not fun, but it's like,
What are you trying to say here, Mel? That's a
but
good.
yeah,
I really like that. I
yeah.
probably would have said like an action sci-fi alien Romulus type movie.
Oh, I did you watch the newest one that came out, the Alien Romulus?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, did you like it?
I loved it.
Yeah, yeah, me
Yeah.
too, me too.
Of like
Yeah.
the alien stuff and like even like the Predator stuff. Um, those movies are solid and they're scary too. Like they mastered that monster so good.
Yeah. The sound design was great.
Sound design was great. The score was really good too. That was one thing that I noticed. Man, I would make the next Transformers.
Really? Just 'cause I feel like that's controversial. Transformers is controversial.
I know there's so many of them. They should have stopped with the last one. Hot take. It's like Transformers goes to Peru.
I will say that I mean like the first Transformers was like so like groundbreaking in what Michael Bay did.
I
Like
saw.
people always shit on it. Like it's kind of a meme now because they just keep making Transformers. But like when it came out, that shit was like crazy. Everyone had the toys, everyone had the posters and like wanted their car to be transformed. I don't know. It's just like, and like the action sequence, like it's just like it hadn't been to that level before. So I feel like, and the score was good. Like I feel like people put it off because it's like overdone now. It's like Frozen and Let It Go. But like you think about it, and it's like actually good cinema for what it was, you
It's
know?
amazing cinema. It's funny too. Shia LaBeouf was funny in that too, in that role. um, yeah, Megan Fox. You
Oh
know,
my
uh,
gosh, yeah.
that was like a huge thing. Um, what was I gonna say? I was gonna say, I remember seeing that movie in theaters.
Oh wow, I
Yeah,
didn't, but
I remember it so vaguely because or so vividly because uh because there was a my folks were my dad was military, and so like we got like base access, and there's a movie theater on base, and so like seeing like all like the special ops military transformers um on the military base was like really really cool, because I don't know, because it was really like military centered too. That's what I really liked about it too. It was man, I gotta rewatch that movie.
did you like kind of a change like Avatar, the James Cameron one, the blue
Yeah,
people?
yeah, I
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
That super that was a big movie too. I remember that was like Blu-ray was coming out and they were just like hand in hand. Avatar and Blu-ray, you could not get away from it.
Yeah, no, I love that one. And I mean the music in that too was just really good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like people shit on that movie too, and honestly, that's like one of my favorite movies. I'm like, no, it's good. Like, it's a good movie.
It is good. It
The
is good.
plot is there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I'm a fan of sci-fi movies.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of sci-fi movies. Like Blade Runner, the new Blade Runner was really good too. But I'm also a fan of like old sci-fi. Like the first Blade Runner was super groundbreaking. And that had a crazy score too. Um, man, I could just talk all day about movies.
But
Oh,
yeah, okay. Yeah,
sorry,
what?
I wanted to loop it back to World War II. World
Oh
War
yeah.
II. I loved like scary World War II movies.
Oh, like which ones?
Like it's called Hellbender, I think.
Oh, I haven't
think.
heard of that one.
But yeah, they were like experimenting on people and they were making a super soldier, but they were actually making like zombies. Which is kind of like the plot of like Call of Duty zombies,
Oh yeah, but like in a movie.
but like in a movie. Yeah,
Ah, yeah. No, I also like apocalyptic. I mean, the Last of Us, we were kind of talking about that earlier, with the new season coming out. Like I don't like horror as in like supernatural jump scares every 2 seconds type of thing, but thrillers, I'm a sucker for thrillers. I'll sit through any thriller.
see, I'm a huge fan of horror films.
Really? No, I
Yeah,
can't do it. I'm such a wimp.
yeah,
I'm
I really,
such a And it's like 90% score too. Like it does help if I just plug my ears.
yeah, it really does. It really does. Yeah, that was me during The Conjuring. I was just plugged ears.
So you're braver than me because I would never even click on that.
Dude, I was in theaters like midnight screening.
No. Oh my gosh. See, you subject yourself to pain.
I do. Yeah. I think the last horror film I saw was The Monkey. Have you seen that one?
No,
That
no.
was horror comedy.
Oh, okay.
Some parts funny and some others. Uh, yeah, I think it's the same. It was produced by the guy who directed The Conjuring.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
But it was funny.
but it was funny. Yeah.
Oh, like kind of the same funny as what is it? Shaun and the Dead and the whatever, Shaun the whatever it's called.
Oh no, it
No.
was not like openly funny. It was more like random funny.
Okay.
But it had a strange cast. Like it had Elijah Wood in there.
Oh.
Yeah, he had a really small role in it, which they don't show in the trailer at all. Like it's super random movie. I would actually recommend it.
Recommend it. Yeah, okay, okay. Do you find you gravitate towards movies because of like the scores too? Like, I mean, like sci-fi and like World War II and like horror has like the scores are what really like kind of connects a lot of the scenes together. Do you find that subconsciously, like because you're a musician and you kind of know like, how music is made, it's like almost like you gravitate towards them rather than, or it's fun too and it's just an extra bonus.
Absolutely not. I'm such a basic B about movies. I go solely for the plot. Like it's like Meg 2, I'm there, like uh no, as far as audio goes, I more pay attention. Well, I mean, a good score is a good score, and that's regardless, you're gonna like be thinking about that after the movie. It's like, wow, that was a good score. Like It Follows. That's another horror. That was a horror film with a really good score, kind of like '80s synthy sort of stuff. Um,
Okay.
but I more so pay attention to the post production audio. So like
Oh,
dialogue audio and sound effects and sound design. I'm like, oh, that was a really interesting sound choice that they made. Um, and that's kind of what gets me going. Or
yeah.
it's like or like footprints. I listen to footprints a lot.
Oh,
And
yeah.
characters are walking. I'm like, how good did they blend those footprints into this movie?
Sometimes it's really good and sometimes it's awful. Like it's
Yeah,
it's it's Foley.
but that's where animation really intrigues me
Oh,
because
would you
you know.
want to work on an animated show as a sound person?
Oh, absolutely. Honestly, a dream gig is to be a Foley artist.
Really? Okay.
I would just be locked away in a studio, dark, with rocks and just making sounds. That's a dream of mine. But yeah, one thing I really appreciate about animation is when you get the projects, they're completely naked, like no sound at all, and so everything needs to be recreated and edited from scratch, essentially.
Yeah. Has there been any films that you're like animated films specifically, since we're on that, where you're like, damn, this is like it's inspiring you, and you're like, damn, like you're just thinking about it as an, from an audio engineer perspective, like, wow, that is layering and layering and layering. Like, what films have done that for you?
Transformers.
Transformers.
Yeah. Even like the robot sounds like it's like someone had to design that. I love that. I saw a Pro Tools session for like 10 seconds of Transformers, and it was like an action sequence, and it was just 90 tracks of sound effects, and
That's
it's
crazy.
crazy automations and just little clips of just audio all scattered around, making like just being sunk up to every single mechanical piece of Optimus Prime. And but yeah, besides that, Ratatouille.
Yo, oh my gosh, thank you. Okay, when anyone asks what are your three favorite, like what are your top movies? My top movies, I always give them and they haven't changed. Feature films are
Cinema.
Dunkirk. Yeah, cinema, fantastic cinema. His Dunkirk by Christopher Nolan, the 2019 one, Little Women by Greta Gerwig, and Ratatouille. And everyone's like, "Oh, those are like so different, like especially the Ratatouille." But there's something about Ratatouille that I just like, one, it's just I feel like it's like a comfort show, and then two, like the music and the sound design for that time in like what, 2008 was insane.
That's insane. Yeah. Yeah, those are very different.
I feel like I should switch it up now, but I haven't found anything to take any of the other films' places yet. So,
No, that's a solid lineup. That's no, Ratatouille is so good. And like I think that movie so hardly inspired me to like cook because outside of audio and being like a fan of cinema, like I cook. I have a passion for cooking. Now that I've turned my hobby into a career, I need a new hobby. And that's cooking. So, and I always think about Ratatouille. It's such a beautiful story, and it just visually, it's visually beautiful.
yeah.
Yeah,
I what was I gonna say? I was gonna, oh yeah. I feel like movies these days just aren't, I mean, obviously there are good ones, but like I don't know what it is about like that time period with Ratatouille and like I don't know, kind of the renaissance of Disney and movies. Um, or like the second wave of Renaissance or whatever people want to call it. Was just so good, and we're not getting those types of movies with all the remakes. Maybe that's a hot take, but as a filmmaker, I'm just kind of sick of the remakes and the sequels and all of this. I like want something fresh and new. And like Ratatouille to me, the reason why I put it there on my top three is it's like it's it's so layered. In like a weird, it's like such a simple concept. A rat learns to cook and then cooks for a Michelin star restaurant. Like that would be the log line. But like
Yeah,
underneath that, there's like all these other layers of like, him dealing with his family and him, like dealing with the human dealing with his own problems. And it's like, I just don't find that complexity anymore, or it's very readily given to you in a film now. Like it's almost stated instead of like, oh, you're finding that out yourself. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, but as a filmmaker, that's a pet peeve of mine today. I'm like, create something like original, create something complex. You don't have to tell us what's happening all the time. Um,
absolutely. Yeah, no, I think you don't have to be a filmmaker to agree with that. I think the general consensus is Hollywood needs to um invest in indie films and indie stories and I don't know, corporate greed is such a real thing, especially in Hollywood with all these remakes. It's it's that's why people need to see Mickey 17. It's such an original uh concept. We need to promote uh the sustainability of funding, these kind of projects. I don't
yeah.
know like how many hoops and ladders Ratatouille had to go through, but I'm so glad they greenlit it because it is a really complex, story. Um, that man, it's gonna stand the test of time. You know, like 40 years from now, like you could play it for somebody, and I'm pretty sure it's gonna resonate.
Yeah. Yeah. No, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. I'm just laughing over the fact that we've spent like 5 minutes talking about a rat. But,
Yeah,
is how it is.
I mean, dude, also like the food in Ratatouille looks
Yes.
so good. Like those sequences when they're cooking, so beautiful. And then I even when I try really good food and I close my eyes, I now I imagine like the when he's just like, oh, try the cheese and then try the grape and the little upright bass is playing, boom, 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 boom. All the fucking flavors are going through the noggin. Oh,
Yes.
so good. I love Ratatouille.
I'm just like trying to find like a film that speaks to me like that now. I feel like there's more TV shows that do that now because they have that time to kind of like
Yeah.
marinate a little bit more than a film does. But I'm like trying to find a film that does that, and so far, like I haven't changed my answers to my top three films because I just haven't found one yet like that.
Another film that I really like that's animated. I just showed this movie to my girlfriend. She'd never seen it before. It was Surfs Up.
Oh my gosh. Yes. I love Surfs. I forget what studio did that.
I think
Yeah,
it's Works.
is it
I could be wrong.
DreamWorks?
Could be completely wrong. DreamWorks, don't come for me if I'm wrong.
No, that one's good too, and no one talks about it.
Yeah. Shia Buff. Super funny.
Nah, and like penguin surfing. Who doesn't who doesn't love that?
Yeah. There's a song right when they get to the island. It goes from like the Antarctic to like this really tropical island, and Green Day, Welcome to Paradise comes on, and it's the most Californian thing. I don't know. It hit home with me because it's like I'm a California skate punk, and man, that shit just gets you going, man. It's just, you want to surf after watching that movie. I don't know. Have you ever surfed?
Yes, yeah, no. I mean, I grew up in the Bay Area in California, so not SoCal, but still California. And Yeah, I had a lot of friends who surfed and I surfed a couple times and but yeah, just the beach vibes, man. I miss that. I miss that. That's one thing I miss. I'm staring out my window right now looking at the gray. You just said San Diego is like so nice out and it's rainy, it's cold. I'm in here and I'm that's the one thing I miss about California is the beach culture. It's just
Yeah.
not the same. It's not the same, which is like one of the things which I think when I was like talking about my film to you when you were scoring it was like kind of like I mean it's very obvious it's at the beach, but like kind of like the beach culture and like what I wanted and your sound is so Californian. And like that's like what I was going for. But there is a certain type of like I guess vibe like when it's like beachy people.
Yeah, no, especially like being from San Diego, opposed to LA, like the two vibes are completely different. San Diego's just way more lax and take things easy, opposed to the hustle and bustle of like LA. I always feel like whenever I do the drive, there's like a halfway point where like you roll down the windows and you're kind of like entering San Diego, and I feel like I could breathe better. I
You
feel like,
probably can. You know how like
oh,
big that cloud of smog is
yeah,
over LA?
yeah, yeah. But it's completely different cultures. Now it's interesting because with the fires in LA, a lot of like the work has been, and a lot of the people have been displaced, and they're looking for places here in San Diego, and there's a lot of more projects and infrastructures that are being greenlit, that are like movie studios are coming down to San Diego, and there's a lot more opportunities for um you know high budget movies to be uh worked on in San Diego. So that's really cool. That's coming up.
Yeah,
Uh,
that was something that like I think is really I guess the silver lining of the fires that happened in LA is like I mean I think it's like a definitely a gut punch in many ways, but they're starting to branch out. You know, like it isn't just Hollywood anymore. You know, I mean they're as you said they're taking it to San Diego, they're taking it to Albuquerque, like they're like making other places I guess it's just it's fun when you're not in like one of the meccas of film, and you work in that or and then for them to come to you, you're like finally, like it's a good thing. At least that's one good thing that came out of it, I guess.
yeah. Yeah. Um yeah, and you're completely right. I think there's a lot more of outsourcing of of work elsewhere. Um Places in England are getting more work. I don't know about New York. I don't know what the culture is over there, but
Struggling.
you kind of live in a mecca of like film and TV.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like it's definitely different though. I feel like 90% of New York is, I mean, it's so commercial. So like 90% of my work is like commercials, which I like. Like that's something I like. Um, but definitely I feel like for people who, previously pre-pandemic had worked on a bunch of TV shows and features and stuff, it's still kind of struggling after, it just kept getting hit, the pandemic, and then it was like the strikes, and then it's like now the economy like for film is like getting brought down just by like the fires in LA. Like I feel like that really busted a lot of the film infrastructure just all across the country because it's like that's where like the studios that give the money are. So like it's just interesting. But it is definitely more commercial here um than like movies. But I will say there's a lot of I mean it's New York, so a lot of productions want to like film on location here. So we do get a lot of like films where they'll just like shoot a little bit like on location in a neighborhood and be like, "Oh, okay." Like the A Complete Unknown with Timothy Chalamet. The Bob Dylan movie was shooting in New York for like a month and it was just like, "Oh, okay." It's like Timmy's walking across the street in like 59th or whatever, it's funny.
Yeah. Yeah, we just saw a movie called, have you heard of Novocaine? Have you heard of that movie?
Oh, yes, I have. I have heard of it.
Yeah, first of all, it's a really great action film. Highly recommend. But it was shot in San Diego. Like it took place in San Diego, which is super weird because no, we're living in the city, we're watching it, and it's like, dude, like no movies are shot. Like I think the last movie I saw that was shot in San Diego was Jurassic Park 2.
Oh
You
my
know,
gosh.
that was like what, mid 90s?
Something like that. Yeah. Yeah. And it is really interesting though, because it's like San Diego is pretty close to LA considering, and like, I feel like it's like a whole extra place to like be able to film, but people only think about LA when they think about filming in California. You have San Diego, you have the Bay, you have like the mountains you could also do if you need like a rural country. I don't know. You could get anything you want in California. Any terrain you want, it's like there. So
Yeah, but yeah, I think music. I think just to tie it back, I think music is super territorial too. So like what
really,
we said about well, I used to think about it in terms of like punk rock music. How punk rock music came from like England, but that had a completely different sound to when it was happening in New York in the 80s. And then it had a completely different sound in California, or like the West Coast. Like punk rock was kind of divided between like the Bay Area and like SoCal, and those bands all had different sounds, but you could tell like it was territorial, and you could when you're listening to it, and it's like the West Coast bands, are doing something completely different from the East Coast bands compared to the England bands, and yeah,
yeah.
that's what
Kind
I.
kind of kind of tying it back to the theme of the podcast. Like, what advice would you give to someone starting out who is interested in like producing music or, writing their own music?
Oh man, um, study the greats, maybe, and just do it.
Just do it.
Yeah. Um, I don't know. Don't wait for anyone's permission. If you have a will, you'll find a way to do it, and um, be kind to others. Treat people the way you want to be treated, uh, and yeah, work will find you. I think.
Yeah, that's good advice. That's good advice. Like, just do it. I feel like a lot of people are like they're scared to get out there, but like the moment you start putting your work out there, someone's gonna find it.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there like what if you could tell your younger self um anything, any advice? What would you say?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think, yeah, don't be scared to ask people for something. Like not in like a give or take way, but I know like I'm a very shy person, and just asking like just about some like asking like, oh, like what was your experience like being in this movie, or how do you like operate this camera, is like so daunting, when you're on set, or like just someone that's more knowledgeable than you. I feel like it's a little bit, I mean, film is very gatekeepy in a way.
Oh, so
Um
is music.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So I guess just like don't be scared to ask questions, and don't be scared to like reach out to people and do the networking. Because I feel like that's like what's helped me get the jobs that I've done. Um, it's just like being, as you said, being nice, putting your work out there, having some sort of portfolio, and just like, yeah, ask questions, ask away. Like that's how you're gonna get more knowledgeable. Yeah.
I 100% agree with that. That's actually a really, really good point. I kind of remember, uh, like recently, I reached out to like one of my engineering inspirations. His name is Aaron Rubin, and he is like the engineer for Blink 182 or like Angels and Airwaves. Um, Also, he's like a San Diego based engineer, and I just uh, on a whim just DM'd him on Instagram, and I was like, "Hey man, I really dug the stuff you did on this album, that album. do you have any advice for aspiring engineers? And he replied. He was so nice about it. He was like, just do your best. It doesn't matter what kind of project it is, just do your best. And but yeah, I think the ask is so important. That's a really, really, yeah, because no one's gonna do it for you. That
Yeah.
is so important. I really like that. I would actually tell my younger self I to do that, but also to start even earlier. If you have an interest
Oh,
in it, just do it even earlier.
yeah.
Yeah, don't be scared to wait around for something. Just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then kind of to switch it up a bit, I'm gonna do the like film Would You Rather, which is just like one question, kind of pertaining to what we were talking to. But my question for you is, would you rather record live and unedited, or record like in a studio and be able to do many takes?
Oh, in what band are we talking about?
Just you in general, just in general, your
uh,
preference.
I'm a little bit of a control freak, so I'm gonna pick the studio.
That's fair.
Yeah.
And then kind of just the final question that that I ask all of my people on the podcast is like you kind of answered this already a little bit, but like if you could tell your younger self, what advice would you give them? Um, if there's anything to add on to what you already said.
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, no, I just don't be afraid to do it and to shake. Don't be afraid to shake hands. Get out there and meet people, connect with people. Um, yeah, people aren't scary. Just be friendly.
That's good advice. That is great advice. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, thank you so much for being on the podcast. How can people find you and your work online?
Uh, I'm mostly active on Instagram. Um, at George Esteban. Um, George underscore Esteban.
Awesome. I'll link it down below. Well, thank you again so much.
It's been a pleasure. It's been awesome catching up with you. Let's not wait another 2 years to catch up.
I know, I know. We won't, we won't.
If you're ever in San Diego,
Yes.
we gotta hang out.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed this podcast and want to learn more about my experience as an up and coming filmmaker or catch up on more episodes, follow me on Instagram at MELYDE12. This podcast is also available on Spotify, SoundCloud, and YouTube. Please like, subscribe, and spread the word. Thank you guys again, and that's a wrap.